growing number of Democrats, even more today, that have called for the president to step aside in the race. But Whitmer, who is the national co-chair of the Biden-Harris reelection campaign, says talk of her replacing the president makes her uncomfortable. But as Democrats look for ways to beat Donald Trump, Whitmer released a memoir where she doesn't hide her political aspirations. Joining us now, political reporter for NewsNation affiliate Wood TV in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Rick Albin. You sat down with the governor to talk about some very important things at a critically important time. What more did she share with you about the criticism the president is receiving right now for him to get out of the race?
She went on to say that she thought Joe Biden could win this race, but he's going to need a lot of work in places like Michigan, and she said a handful of other states. Obviously, she's thinking about those swing states. Michigan is a critical state for Democrats. Almost impossible to win the White House for a Democrat if you don't win Michigan. And we know right now that Donald Trump is trending ahead in this state. So the Whitmer line is she is with President Trump. President Trump is going to have to do a little bit more work out there. But I think there may be another ramp for the governor, too, because this hasn't all played out yet.
And what might that ramp look like, Rick?
I think it would be in the form of people like she and Gavin Newsom, who are probably two of the top governors that might be thinking about getting on that ticket. They stick with Biden. They show their loyalty. They do everything that they can, while the rest of the party, particularly senators like Brown and Tester and some of these folks who are in tight Senate races are already saying, hey, we got to have another candidate because he's going to hurt us at the top of the ticket. Whitmer's not running for anything. She doesn't have to worry about that. She can't run for another term as governor. So she shows her loyalty. But then if the wheels come off of this thing, I think she and Newsom and others are well positioned. She's obviously been traveling the country, raising money, raising her profile, spending a lot of time in Washington. She's campaigning for other people. She's campaigning for Tammy Baldwin up in Wisconsin. So she's doing all the things that a candidate would do. But I think they're taking the loyalty path right now, which may or may not be the right place to go. But this situation continues to deteriorate. It could change rapidly, even the next 72 hours.
Right. You know, it feels like moment by moment, things are shifting a little bit. Did she address at all the rift within the party? I mean, you can say one thing publicly, but privately, the discussions that are happening, how damaging is this to the Democratic Party right now?
She didn't talk about that. We didn't bring up that. But I can tell you that if you and I are hearing all this back channel conversation, so is everybody else. And it really means that there are people out there that are putting on a good face, but they're still concerned. Nancy Pelosi said it's going to have to be Joe Biden's decision. Well, that's far different than her coming out with a strong endorsement of a president she's worked very closely with. There are real concerns in the party, and it's not just about winning the White House. In fact, perhaps it's more about winning the Senate and the House, because in some of these close races, those candidates are very, very nervous. We have an open Senate seat in Michigan that has been pretty close in the polling, but, you know, this can have an impact on those kind of races, and that has a long-term effect, perhaps even more than the White House.
What else is she revealing, Rick, in this memoir about her political aspirations, and much of this written prior to some of the challenges the Democratic Party is facing right now? But what did she say about her desire for her political future?
She doesn't really delve into that too much. She talks a lot about character, who she is, what she's done, how she's gotten where she got, her feud with Donald Trump during the pandemic and kind of how that played out. Also, again, it raised her profile, maybe raised the profile of the state during the pandemic. So there were those kind of conversations. She talks a lot about her personal life, being with her mother at the end of life, and her own sexual assault when she was a young woman. So there's a lot of personally revealing things in there. And you're right, this book was written before all of this happened. But as I pointed out to her yesterday, it coming out a week before the Republican National Convention and a few weeks before the Democratic National Convention could be a happy coincidence, but some reporters don't believe in coincidence. So, I mean, this book's timing is somewhat suspect from that standpoint, but nobody knew this was going to be happening right now. So I think it will be interesting to see, and I take the governor at her word. Right now, today, she's not in this race, but circumstances can change, and I'm not sure her comment yesterday covers all those circumstances.
Yeah, we are in some uncharted territory here, and the political water is looking pretty choppy, at least for the time being. Political reporter for NewsNation affiliate Wood TV, Rick Albin, great interview. I look forward to hearing more of it and learning more about the Michigan governor as a contingency in the Democratic Party. Appreciate your time, sir. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.